I think as we think about how much we know about the genetics of sperm, the answer is very little, right? The technology that exists today to decide which sperm to use is essentially looking down the microscope by a really talented embryologist and andrologist. And not to say that they're not good at their job, but I think in 2023, the assessment of sperm certainly should include some sort of genetics, genomics, and certainly looking at how fast a sperm swims or how directly and straight it swims is probably not a really good diagnostic mark of how much we know about that sperm. Well, I think if you delve into epigenetics beyond genetics, I think the answer is we probably understand even less. To be honest, as a person in the field, I've been working in the IVF industry for quite a while. I didn't know about the test that I talked about today that looks at dysregulation of the epigenetics of sperm, not just looking at the genetics of what goes into a sperm, but the epigenetics, which is the control of the DNA. So to back up a little bit, in genetics is obviously you're handed down the genetics from your parents, but your cells and your genes can use things like epigenetics to turn genes on or to upregulate or downregulate a gene depending on what the body needs. And so it turns out that regulation and dysregulation is becoming also really important as a diagnostic in sperm, but probably in other disease types or in other sort of just human states. So I think to understand more about those things, I think number one, more symposiums like this focused on a single gamete, focused on a single topic, bringing in experts that aren't always the same experts that speak at every conference. Two of the talks I heard this morning I've never seen before, and that's wonderful. Bringing embryologists here so that they can hear about the latest research that I can produce or others can produce. I think all those things are important, and I think what Cryos is doing with your research and your collaboration and all the things you're doing, genetics obviously, but looking at the COVID things that you've looked at, a real question that patients have right now. I mentioned during my Q&A, one of the problems I think we suffer from in this field is lack of information to counsel patients with. And so everything we can do, genetics or COVID or anything, to understand and better help patients understand what we do in the lab and what we do in the clinic, I think all those things would be helpful. So I think collaborations like you guys are doing, publishing papers, having experts like me meet experts like other people that gave talks here today, and now we're going to collaborate on some new things. And those are the things that we have to do. We have to collaborate going forward. And again, I have to commend Cryos for really pushing this research forward.